The first time I heard my own voice on a true crime podcast, I laughed. Not because it was funny, it was terrifying, but because if I didn't laugh, I'd scream. The second time, he heard it. And that changed everything. Ethan was never supposed to find me. Out of millions of listeners who tuned in to Dark Corners, he was the one who recognized the slight stutter in my voice, the awkward pause I made before every nervous answer. He heard my fear buried under carefully edited narration. And somehow he knew. That was the beginning of the end of my hiding. Or maybe the start of something bigger, something I wasn't ready to admit even to myself. The town of Ashgrove wasn't the kind of place people paid attention to. It was all cracked sidewalks, a single movie theater that smelled of butter and mildew, and families who had lived here for generations. People liked to say nothing ever happened here. But for me, everything happened here. I was 19 when my name got dragged into a murder investigation I had nothing to do with. The podcast ran with me awkward interviews, the whispers in the high school hallways, the so-called evidence that was nothing more than rumor. When the police dropped me as a suspect, the internet didn't. The podcast turned me into a permanent ghost of suspicion. I kept my head down. I worked nights at a diner, lived with my aunt who chain-smoked on the porch, and tried to convince myself I could survive invisible. Then Ethan showed up. He was new in town. College dropout, ex-baseball star. Rumor had it he'd walked away from a full scholarship after his dad's accident. He carried himself like he was made of both steel and regret. The kind of guy who didn't ask permission to sit in the corner booth at the diner, staring at me until I finally brought him coffee. "You don't remember me, do you?" His voice was low, steady, almost teasing. I froze. My fingers tightened around the coffee pot. "Should I?" He tilted his head, studying me like he had all the time in the world. "Maybe not me, but I remember you. I heard you. On Dark Corners." The words slammed into me. My throat went dry, my stomach flipped. Nobody said that podcast name around me. It was like an unspoken rule in town. You didn't remind me of the worst year of my life. I started, but he cut me off. "I knew it was you. The way you hesitated, the way you said, I don't know, like it was a confession. I knew because I do the same thing when I'm lying. I should have walked away. Instead, I poured his coffee and whispered, 'You shouldn't bring that up here.' For weeks, he came back. Always the same booth, always black coffee. Always watching me like he was reading pages I didn't know I'd written. People noticed, of course. Ashgrove was small. A boy with broad shoulders and eyes sharp enough to slice through silence didn't go unnoticed. Some nights, after my shift, he'd be leaning against the diner's brick wall, waiting. He never asked if I wanted company, just fell into step beside me. His jacket brushing my arm, his silence loud but strangely safe. It unnerved me, how much I wanted that. One night I snapped. "Why are you doing this?" I hissed, stopping dead on the cracked sidewalk. "Why keep showing up? What do you want from me?" He didn't flinch. He just shoved his hands deeper into his jacket pockets and said, "I want the truth." I laughed bitterly. The truth? Nobody wanted the truth when the cops questioned me. Nobody wanted it when that podcast turned me into clickbait. They just wanted a story. "Then tell me your story." His voice softened, but his gaze burned. "Not theirs. Yours." I hated him for asking. I hated him for making me want to answer. It started with small confessions. Pieces of the past I'd locked up. The night I'd been seen near the river where the body was found. The stupid fight I'd had with my best friend hours before. The way the cops looked at me like I was guilty before I even spoke. Ethan never judged. He listened like every word mattered, like he was gathering me up piece by piece. And when I faltered, when my voice cracked under the weight of memory, he just leaned closer and whispered, "I believe you." No one had ever said that to me before. But believing me didn't mean we were safe. Whispers started again. People noticed Ethan's loyalty. His quiet defense of me when customers at the diner muttered under their breath. And when the podcast dropped a new update episode dragging my name back into circulation, things got ugly. Someone spray-painted "killer" across the diner's back door. My aunt begged me to leave town. That night, Ethan showed up at my porch, jaw clenched, fists stuffed in his jacket pockets. "You're coming with me," he said. I blinked. "What? Where?" "Anywhere but here. They'll eat you alive if you stay." I wanted to argue, but when his hand brushed mine, warm and trembling, I realized what I wanted more than anything wasn't safety, it was him. And so began the strangest chapter of my life. Running, but not from the cops this time. From rumors. From voices that refused to let me move on. And beside me, Ethan, too fierce, too stubborn, too gentle when I least expected it. Sometimes, late at night, in the crummy motel rooms we scraped money for, I'd catch him watching me. Like he wasn't guarding a fugitive, but guarding something fragile, something precious. Like he was guarding his favorite secret. And for the first time since the world decided I was guilty, I didn't feel like a ghost. Ethan was the first person who ever made me believe I wasn't broken. And he was also the first person who made me want to stay alive, not just survive. But wanting wasn't enough when the past clawed its way back. The podcast host Angela announced she was coming to Ashgrove for a live recording, digging up new evidence about the case that had haunted me for years. Ethan wanted to burn her studio down. I wanted to disappear. Neither of those were options. Instead, we stayed. The night of the event, the diner was emptier than I'd ever seen it. Everyone was at the town hall where the live show was being broadcast. I sat in the corner booth, staring at my untouched coffee, while Ethan paced like a caged wolf. "You don't have to go," he said for the 100th time. I forced a laugh. "If I don't, it'll look like I'm hiding." Again. His hands slammed against the table, making the cups rattle. "You've done enough hiding for a lifetime. They don't deserve Ethan." I cut him off softly. His rage burned, but I needed calm. "If I keep running, I'll never stop. And I'm tired. So damn tired." He stared at me, chest heaving, until finally he sat down. His hand found mine under the table, rough and trembling. "Then I'm going with you." The town hall buzzed like a hive. Faces turned when I walked in, old classmates, neighbors, people who'd once crossed the street to avoid me. Whispers rippled. Ethan's grip on my hand tightened, grounding me. Angela's voice carried through the room, smooth and confident. "Tonight, we reopen a case that has haunted Ashgrove for 5 years. The mysterious death by the river, and the boy whose name has never truly been cleared." Every eye landed on me. My lungs forgot how to work. Ethan leaned in, his breath warm at my ear. "Breathe. I've got you." For once, I believed him. Then came the twist. Angela revealed she had tracked down a witness. Someone who had stayed silent until now. The doors at the back opened, and in walked Jacob, my old best friend. My blood ran cold. Jacob looked older, wearier, but his eyes still carried that sharp edge of guilt I remembered. He stepped onto the stage, avoiding my gaze. "Two need to confess something," he stammered. The room went dead silent. Angela leaned forward, predatory. "Go on." Jacob's voice cracked. "It wasn't him. It was me. I was the one by the river that night. We fought and she fell. Panicked. I left him to take the blame." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. Years of suspicion, shame, and exile, all for something I hadn't done. My chest burned with anger and relief all at once. Gasps filled the hall. Angela looked stunned, for once without words. And Ethan pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I thought he'd never let go. "You're free," he whispered, fierce and broken. "Do you hear me? You're finally free." Freedom didn't come overnight. Gossip lingered, people still stared. But the weight that had crushed me for years was gone. The town had to face the truth, whether they liked it or not. Ethan never left my side. Through every awkward apology, every sideways glance, every awkward step into this new version of my life, he was there. One evening, we sat on the porch of my aunt's house, the sun dipping low behind the trees. For the first time in forever, the silence didn't feel heavy. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked quietly. "Finding me, getting involved." He laughed, low and warm, and pulled me against him. "Regret? No. You were never a burden. You were the only thing that made sense. I swallowed hard, blinking back tears. Even with everything? Especially with everything. His lips brushed the top of my hair, gentle and certain. You're my favorite secret, and I don't plan on keeping you hidden anymore. We left Ashgrove months later, packed what little I had, tossed it into his old truck, and drove until the roads blurred into something new. There were still nights when the memories clawed back. When I woke sweating, sure I'd hear Angela's voice on the radio, sure the world was still out to paint me guilty. But Ethan was always there, grounding me, whispering, "You're safe. You're with me." And maybe that was the real miracle, not the confession, not the podcast unraveling, not even my name being cleared. The miracle was that after years of being seen as a ghost, someone saw me as something worth protecting, worth loving. The last night we spent in Ashgrove, Ethan and I stood by the river, the place that had cursed my life and then, strangely, set me free. The water rippled, carrying secrets downstream. I turned to him. "You really believe in happy endings?" He smirked, that crooked grin that always made my chest ache. "No, but I believe in us." And then he kissed me, fierce, tender, desperate. The kind of kiss that erased years of silence, replaced with promise. In that moment, with the river whispering behind us and the stars burning above, I finally understood. Happy endings aren't about erasing the pain. They're about finding someone who chooses you despite it. And Ethan chose me. Always. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.